Hello, good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing? Feels like we haven't done anything at all since last week, have we? So, big picture. Oops, got my sound. There, let's sort my sound out. And you know, we really haven't gone anywhere. Last week, when we talked about this, and we talked about this correction we were in, and I said how I was a little bit worried that this might end up being an Elliott wave triangle, and that would mean we were still in a wave 4. I don't think we are anymore. I think, you know, as you know, I'm not an Elliott wave specialist, although I do know quite a lot about harmonic patterns. And that makes me a zigzag girl. So I'm always looking at the zigzags and I'm measuring the legs and the relationship between them. And, you know, when you count zigzags, which you know, clearly this is a correction. This is not a new downtrend in Bitcoin. This correction has been one of those shallow corrections where we don't want to give much back in terms of price. The market, every time we dip back, you know, to just under 10,000, out come all the buyers. And so, you know, we can pretend it's not a big round number, 10,000, but really it is. You know, just every time people go, oh, it's under 10,000, grab some. That seems to be what's happening. And if enough people do, and enough people buy some and perhaps some stops build up underneath here, what we might see before we make a bottom is one more push lower that squeezes out all those weak hands before we turn and run higher again. I would really like to see this 200 moving average catch up with price before we start higher again. The good news about that is, or that, you know, it's a lagging indicator, but you know, it kind of follows the shape of price. So all the time that we're up here now, it should start to accelerate higher as all of these lower prices from back here drop out in the 200 moving average. So where are we in terms of a zigzag or an Elliott wave pattern, and what can we expect next? For me, I think we made a big ABC correction lower, and then we've made a big ABC correction higher. And because I always want to see corrections in 3 waves as a zigzag girl, we're in our 3rd one. So this is really a big A, a big B, and a big C. But, you know, when you get a combination like this in Elliott wave, they call it X, Y, Z. And within each one of these X, Y, Zs, the pattern can be different. And so that means, for example, that in this 3rd leg here, where I'm looking for a C or a drop down, we could see a triangle. I'm going to show you from the Elliott wave book what I mean. And I thank you to the lovely people on Twitter who are better than Elliott wave than me who point this out. So here are our diagrams of all our corrections in Elliott wave, and when we scroll down, here we go. And when we scroll down and we come to combinations, doubles and triple threes, which is where we get 3 corrective patterns. What I think we could be seeing here in Bitcoin at the moment is this pattern. So we've had a big ABC down, we've had a zigzag up. Potentially we could just, if we don't want to drop below that 10,000 price, we could make a 5-wave triangle here, which gets around the you can't have a triangle in a wave 2. The alternate, the one that I favor as a big zigzag girl, would be a final wave down with 3 waves down that takes us to that 200 moving average and to, you know, that 8,500, 50% back. So I'll show you what I mean by that in Bitcoin. So basically, if we make a triangle here, we could do something like this. So we go A, B, C, D, final leg E, and then we rally. So that's how we're going to play the month out, and this becomes a little triangle. I've drawn it pretty badly actually, because you wouldn't want this one higher, but it'll be something like this. Or maybe a bit bigger. And the one I favor is this is an A leg, a B leg we're making, then we're going to make a C leg, and then a thing, and then we get here, and then that's our bottom. Now, might not play out like that, and it might not necessarily be that this 3rd wave is the longest, it could be the shortest. We could just make a false break of this trend line, 1, 2, 3 on the 3rd touch, and then that's how it would play out, something like that. any way you cut it, I'm expecting that we make a bottom sometime around the second week of September. And the reason that I think that we will make a bottom then is because I look at time as well. And in terms of time, the ideal correction for a lovely impulsive rally like this is sort of 1/3 of the time that we took to rally. Or we could say 38.2 in terms of fib time. So if we take trend-based fib time, measure from this low to this high, and we project it from here, the 38.2 gives us a bottom around the 8th of September. So that, for me, you know, if we go a little bit further than that, I maybe put the 50% in, but for me, this has worked very well. You know, when you don't, so around the 8th of September, second week of September, I think that this corrective pattern that we're in will be complete, and hopefully we'll be saying hi to this 200 moving average, something like that, and everything will be good. I'm thinking that we might see a second leg lower in stocks, and a bit of a risk off move when we start September. It's all very bullish at the moment, but I think, and that may be the, you know, it may be that that's what drives Bitcoin lower rather than anything that's actually happening in the crypto world. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. And then hopefully we'll see a Bitcoin crack back in as a kind of alternate asset. So that's what I'm looking for Bitcoin. Either way, we're going to do some more sideways trading. Miguel says it's WXY. In fact, Miguel is the one that helped me. Thank you, Miguel. Not XYZ, yeah, WXY. So WX and then Y. And so, you know, really in terms of big zigzags, you know, I just measure the legs. So if this was our first leg, W, and this is our X here, if we do an equal measured move, gosh, we could end up down here at 7,500. And that's where the 200-day moving average is now. Now, I'm not sure I see that, but if I just take this first leg and the second leg, you know, and if I take this first leg and these were about equal, and if we do a third drive pattern, which is where this leg is about equal, that takes us down to around 8,100 in these previous lows. And that, you know, would not be offensive to me. That would be kind of a really nice, cool place to be picking up some Bitcoin again. So we will really do have to be patient. And while it's like this, we've got to be really patient with alts, because in this, you know, you can get chopped to death if you get too stubborn about thinking about which way we go next. Because even within this, we're not sure which way we're going to go next. So, and Miguel is right, you know, very often in declining wedges or corrective patterns or the last legs of corrective patterns, what you'll see where normally in an impulsive wave, you'll see the third wave be the strongest or the longest. Very often you'll see a strong first wave and a slightly shorter and a slightly shorter, something like that. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily play out that way. So I'm just saying that we need a little bit more patience in Bitcoin. Whatever happens, I think we could go a little bit lower. We might still keep holding these dips into these 9,500 area, but my money's on 8,000. I might be wrong. Let's see. So what does this mean for all the other coins? Because I really do think that we're going to stay in corrective patterns until then for most of them as well. And Litecoin, major disappointment. Litecoin, perhaps we all had too much of an expectation for the halvening in this one, but you know, we've pulled back, we didn't get to our targets, let's take these away, and here we are. Big picture, I think we are making a base. I think just like Bitcoin, you know, whether we call it A or whether we call it 1, we've made one really nice rally off the lows. This one was slightly ahead in December, and either way we're going to see a pullback and then another leg higher. So until then we're waiting to see where are we going to bottom. If it all stays as one big corrective pattern, you would normally expect it to finish somewhere 50%, 61.8, something like that. We haven't quite tagged in Litecoin US dollar that 61.8 back, but we are kind of slowing up and going sideways above it. So maybe we turn here and you know, we'll stay. What I like about this is how we are bunching up all of our moving averages in between this 61.8, 38.2 zone. So I expect us to stay in this box, to be honest. And I think we find some support soon in Litecoin and consolidate in this. And then from here, we should see a big breakout to the upside. So yes, you're right. Litecoin US dollar, Litecoin Bitcoin is a much more interesting chart. Where's my favorite chart before? I'm going to tidy up this Litecoin. So here, if we zoom all the way out in Litecoin Bitcoin, we're at really kind of important support levels down here where we have found buyers before. Have we actually quite tagged these lows? Not quite, but we're in those zones where the buyers have showed up before. If this is just a big correction like this, we've gone beyond which the 1272 fib level where you would normally expect it to hold. And you see how each one of these, it becomes support, resistance, blah, blah, blah. In this case, I would like to see it above these highs and 7675 if we are going to hold this level in this low here. Otherwise, I think that we've got further to fall in Litecoin Bitcoin, and it's making me a little bit nervous that we're not going to hold these lows. You know, especially if I should put it out to the weekly. If I take fibs like this, you know, I can't really in terms of a fib retrace level find a reason to stop here. But then, you know, I never really did before on this one. So yeah, important support anyway. So what I tend to do when I have important support is I watch for a reversal with moving averages on a lower time frame, and if we don't reverse the trend here, then there is no reversal, you know, and we need to look for a bullish pattern. So these are the two previous lows I'm looking at. We've still got although we've gone sideways and we've slowed up, you know, at the moment we're doing what Bitcoin is doing, and that's pretty much going sideways. So nothing to do in Litecoin at the moment, I'm afraid. I think there's nothing driving Litecoin. There's no news driving Litecoin. There's just nothing. So it's all going to move with all the kind of general crypto risk. I think I'd rather be on something that had something driving it. And the same here in Ripple. Here in Ripple, this is Ripple Bitcoin. So we've got Bitcoin going sideways against the dollar, and we've got Ripple going sideways against Bitcoin. So this is a big fat bunching up of nothing. I like this. I'd like to be bullish here. It's a big kind of 886 fib level. I'm going to go out to the weekly in Ripple. So back here, you know, this is just one of those levels where you would normally expect the market to have a go and rally from here. And if you rally from an 886 fib level, you would normally return to the 50%, which is all the way up here. So it would be a good place for Ripple Bitcoin to put its toe in and find some support. At the moment, this pattern, again, you know, if this is a wedge or a large triangle, this is one of those patterns where you would expect to see a break lower before you see it break higher. And so I'm not actually confident buying Ripple here at all unless I see it break and hold to the upside. It has to do something dramatic. I think it's more likely that we, you know, when you see a breakout from a shape like this, it's usually the last swing, but it does break with the trend, which is still lower with Ripple Bitcoin, unfortunately. Now in Ripple Dollar or Ripple Tether, let's look at Ripple Tether. Got the same kind of bear flag look pattern. Let's zoom out. For me, holding under this 20 moving average, this lower high, this says to me at least a retest of the lows before we swing higher. Is this a swing failure pattern? This was a swing in Ripple. Okay, this was a swing failure pattern from this low. Okay, so we made a slightly lower low here and closed above it and rallied, and we've done it. You know, when you have a swing failure pattern, your target, it's not a trend reversal trigger as such. It just says you should rally back to the first resistance. Well, in this case here, these previous lows, you can see them all bunched up here. This was our first resistance, and that's where we did rally back to on this swing failure pattern. So you know, that's that done, that setup done now. And I think more likely what I'd like to see is a really good double bottom here, build a proper base, something like that. We need to slow down, and instead of going down, we need to go sideways so these moving averages level out. We can make the turn here in Ripple. So this is a good time to be patient. I think we will have a better rally in Bitcoin, and Ripple will be one of those kind of follow-on trades that we see later on. Okay, the next coin requested tonight was EOS. I think it's going to be one of those big fat nothing likes, but here I'm really sorry to say that we are struggling again here in EOS Bitcoin. Again, just like Ripple, we are struggling at a big 886 fib. So I've drawn my fibs all the way from all-time lows to highs. Then we had this big ABC, and this is the 886 fib. It's a very common Fibonacci level that you pull back to in harmonic patterns. When you do reverse at an 886 fib, your first target, you keep the same fibs drawing, and your first target is the 50% for your next leg up. So this would be here. So that's your kind of minimum target, 12612, if we can reverse here. And your confirmation that you've made the turn is when you get above the 786 fib, which is above it. So this would be the setup if we can rally here in EOS Bitcoin on the weekly. So here we are at this level. You know, we've been sitting on it for 1, 2, 3, 7. This is the 7th week that we are bouncing above this 886 fib level, seeing if we can make a base here in EOS, and we haven't done it. We haven't managed to hold above the 20 moving average. We haven't just been able to get out of jail. Momentum says we are trying, but just no banana, not happening, is it? Short term, if I was looking at this, so I take this most recent swing lower here. Where did we stop? Wasn't too bad, 38.2. Yeah, there's just nothing. There is no edge. There's no sideways. We need to wait, unfortunately. What we need to wait, the best thing for me would be a big fat up day that closes back above this daily 20 moving average. So we get a big fat up day here, and everybody pays attention. And then we'll get a nice shallow pullback, and then we can talk about turning the trend. Like here, we had a big strong move, pulled back to the 20 moving average, but we just couldn't hold it and power away. But here, then when your moving averages are pointing down, it's very hard to do that. Once you flatten them out, like we're just starting to do here, then you can do it and you can turn it around. So let's see. We need a bit more time in EOS as well. So if you're holding it, we're holding at a good level. We are making one of those patterns that makes me a little bit nervous, and so we could see, you know, one more false breakdown, and then when we break out of this pattern, we'll make a bottom. So it's not making me want to buy it yet in Ripple, in EOS Bitcoin, I'm afraid. Let's look at EOS dollar or EOS Tether, because we've really, it's not. I need to tidy up my chart here. Yeah, everywhere we were hoping is not now. You know, normally, okay, so if you're normally, what you very often see, this was a 50% retrace. So when you see a 50% retrace like this, you would look for 50% back. Markets that kind of mean revert. So you would look for this, that's why I drew this 50% to hold, and then hopefully something like that. You'll see 50%, 50%. In this case, we didn't. This was just a 50% retrace, and we're still looking lower. So, you know, that's pretty, unfortunately, still bearish here for EOS. So what do we do if we lose these lows? I'd much rather than pullbacks, look at. Yeah, we need to wait for this to make a bottom, and it's not. It's in a downtrend. All of these are bear flags. Whilst we hold underneath the 20 moving average, nothing to do. It's all pointing lower. Might we build a bit of a base here if we hold these lows? We might, yes. That would be a positive sign. And then we could talk about a base that we can spring away from. But whilst we slow down and flatten out, becomes a sideways range, and then we need to break out of it one way or another. A nice double bottom here would be good, and then confirmation would be breaking the high and breaking it back above the 200 moving average. That would be a positive sign, but we need to wait and see. So wait and see if we get a bullish reversal here. The simple way that I look at this is this reversing? Is I draw the fibs from this high to the low, and I look and see if we can get a close above the 236 fib. Okay, hold on. In fib terms, I'm always looking for a 236 fib. So if we close above that 236 fib level, which is here, then that's a reversal. And you know, we're kind of stuck. We're not. So in fact, on this daily, since we bounced off that low, we have not managed to close above it, even though we've peaked above it. So that would be a daily close then above 3.68. That would be a bullish reversal, short term, counter trend for EOS dollar. And then we'd be looking for back to the 200 moving average and the top of this range. So until, without that though, we're still going lower from here. Okay, so that's EOS dollar. Next one we're going to look at is ETH, then Bitcoin Cash, and then. So we had a little moment there when I thought ETH was going to outperform Bitcoin, and I got quite excited and thought, oh, maybe alt season, and you know, back in the days when a decent move in ETH signaled an alt season. So it's not happening. And here we are at 61.8 fib, bunched up with these daily moving averages, the daily 200 moving average. We're underneath it at the moment, and we're holding underneath it, which potentially sets us up for, just like Bitcoin, another leg lower. But what I would say here is we're not really, and you know, we're going sideways. This moving average is flat. Everything is starting to flatten out. And so before we get really excited on the short sides, we should be careful that we don't, like Bitcoin, you know, maybe put in another leg higher or something like this. You know, momentum is still turning up, and you know, if we can really almost count 5 waves down here, which at which point we should start to be looking for, rather than selling, we should start to be looking for bullish reversals. So I wouldn't be actively selling Ethereum here, but I don't see any edge or any reason to buy it yet. If we go and take a quick look at, say, the ETH Bitcoin chart, it's completely flatlined. And I feel like, again, this is a bear flag. Here's our downtrend. Here's our flag. We can't regain this 20 moving average, so we are still going to be, unless this breaks to the upside, we're still underperforming Bitcoin. So your eye should be on Bitcoin until this changes, and not Ethereum, unfortunately. And I think 0.01704 is the next fib support that I have for Bitcoin. So still got further to fall for that one, unfortunately. Next, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash ABC. Okay, now this one has been very correlated with Bitcoin, which is why we've got this big sideways pattern going on. Now this has no trend. Look, dead flat daily moving averages, and we're stuck going sideways in the middle of them, in the middle of a bigger tightening range. This means there is no trend. So Bitcoin Cash is doing exactly what Bitcoin is doing, plus or minus a little each day. So there really is no edge. Whatever you are doing in Bitcoin Cash, it's doing what Bitcoin's doing. So if Bitcoin has one more dip lower from here, you know, we're in the middle. And I always say, don't diddle in the middle. We could do one more dip lower. We could move higher. You know, if we are forming, if this is a big triangle, this would mean that we would look for this to break lower and to that previous low before we go up again. So we need to be a little bit careful. This is not really a bullish pattern yet. Okay, so no trend, sideways. It's in lockstep pretty much with Bitcoin. So does it matter if you have some Bitcoin Cash? No, why not? You know, why not spread it out a bit? Here, you know, the difference between this one is we are down at the lows, whereas Bitcoin is not. And so potentially it has more, we could argue it has more upside potential, if you like. And this is a pretty, you know, clear for me, just sideways range, isn't it? Since we had the big splitting or whatever, this is our just big sideways range that we're in. I just wouldn't rule out a retest of these lows, just the way this is shaping up, before we rally out of here. So Bitcoin Cash US dollar doesn't look quite as bad. That just means that we're going to underperform Bitcoin. If we look at Bitcoin Cash US dollar, this looks fantastic. We've pulled back 50%. Like, this is an ideal correction. We're holding the 200 moving average and we're marking time going sideways. We're just getting ready for the next leg higher here in Bitcoin Cash ABC against Tether. I think this is a fantastic chart. Like, really, you know, clearly we're respecting the fib levels. So if for some terrible reason, like Bitcoin, we do one more swing lower and we retest the lows, we'll retest this 61.8 level. If we move higher, then obviously we've got to break above 350. But we are consolidating between the 61.8, 38.2 fibs and holding up pretty well, just like Bitcoin. Bitcoin Cash SV. God, how many times this chart? I got so excited that we were going to finally break out, get a move going, you know, this long, choppy, overlapping, declining wedge here. I was sure at some point was going to break to the upside, and it just keeps promising to do it and then not doing it. So we haven't. We've started though to flatten out and go sideways. So maybe this is what we need to see to kind of preempt a move higher. But big picture, if we zoom out in Bitcoin Cash SV here and we go to a daily chart, and so just like Bitcoin Cash ABC, between this low and this high, here we are between the 61.8 and the 38.2. We're bunching up our daily moving averages. We're pulling everything in, saving up energy for, I believe, a big move. And if we look at this just as an ABC, then we've only had an A leg. This leg it'll either be a C leg or it'll be a 3, but this next move higher should be a strong one. And so we're just waiting for that to happen. I think it's just a timing thing. And when Bitcoin goes, so should this one, hopefully. So, yeah, let's see. Here, again, this 4 hour, we're making a pretty good base at this 61.8. If we drop down from here, we'll go to 93, and that will be a bullish Gartley. But at the moment, yeah, I really do like this to break to the upside soon, once people have given up. Hello, I saw your request actually. Look, I saw your request on Twitter for Tomo. Just to prove it, I have Tomo ready, look. So there you go. We'll do Tomo on the end. Although, I know it's new to Binance. If you look at a Binance chart, it really doesn't give you very much information, does it? Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is Tron TRX. Or we're going to try to, if my page is loaded. I don't know what's going on here. I've probably got, as usual, I've got too many pages open. Somebody wrote to me, they said they had anxiety looking at my tabs. Okay. Here's Tron Bitcoin. This is another one that's, you know, we're looking, I keep drawing these levels and saying, you know, we might make a base here, and we kind of don't. We keep going. If I take these fib targets away, I'm just going to hide this for a second. And I'm taking it from here. You know, what we look like we're doing is just a bit of a declining wedge. And if we wait for this third touch, then we need to get to this 1.272 extension from this swing, which is also a 1.618 extension from this swing. So let me put that back in, and you can see the one I hid. Here, 1272. It's the 1272 of this swing. So all of the fib retrace levels line up for me down here at around 100. And so potentially we need to wait, and we're going down to 100. I am wrong. And so that's quite a long way when you look at where we are now, because we're at 172. This is Tron Bitcoin. Now I'm wrong, and we can get bullish if we get back above this fib level at 181. And so far, that's what we said last week, I think. 181 was the level that we needed to get above when we were looking at this last week. And 181, this is our level, is where we double topped. So everybody's looking at the same level, and it's got sold off. Now, does this mean that we're for sure going to go to hell and all the way down here? No, it doesn't. At the moment, we've got a pretty good base here. We could, this week, you know, find support here again and break up this base. You know, we're building a base here. But I would say very strongly, if you own some TRX and we drop below 160, honestly, go back to Bitcoin. Please go back to Bitcoin, because we will go from 160, I think, to 100. So we need to wait for that. Now, and back above 181, that's great. Tighten this stop up, and we should continue higher to at least 215 and the daily 50 moving average, and then we'll see where we go from there. So that's what we need to see it make a bottom. Otherwise, we need to look lower from here in TRX Bitcoin. Now, I could look at dollar fee, but you know, you'd be better off in Bitcoin. If it doesn't look so shabby if we look at it. It doesn't look so shabby at all if we look at it. You know, we're not at new lows, but we're not exactly ripping either. So I'm afraid we just need to wait and see. Now, again, we've got sideways consolidation. This could be a bullish building of a base here. We could have a really nice double bottom. If we break, you know, markets have three directions. They go up, they go down, and they go sideways. At the moment, in Tron against the dollar for the last 2 weeks, we have been going sideways. Which way we break out from here will tell us which way next. So if it's lower, don't hang around. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is Ethereum Classic, which has been doing really well. I sometimes wonder if people don't know the difference between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, so they see that Ethereum has gone up and they click the wrong chart. You know, I remember like I've seen times when, you know, they've announced something to do with a stock, and there'll be a ticker that's really similar, and people will get confused, and the one with the ticker that's really similar gets has a massive rally as well. I've seen that before. But anyway, here we are in Ethereum Classic. I actually fancy this. I think we're doing pretty nice sideways consolidation, and I'm looking for a fifth wave higher in this one that will take us. I need to put those fib sacks. We've been holding underneath this 38.2 fib, so we got wave 1, 2, 3. I'd like to see a shallow pullback, not below 647, and then we continue higher to 827, which would be the 50% back of this most recent swing lower here in Ethereum Classic against Bitcoin. So that's what I'm looking for. How far are we going to come back in this leg here? I'm not sure. You know, we could end up making a triangle. We could end up not coming all the way back to this 236 fib and instead just going sideways. So I'd be waiting for a breakout, and then next target to the upside would be 827. So keep an alert on this one. One more leg higher. Okay. Sean says, do you think Binance announced some kind of staking or collateral using Ethereum Classic? Okay, perfect. Okay, good news. Okay, not all just confusion then. And that's why it's holding up here as well. You know, there have been a couple of coins like that lately, haven't they, that have rallied, and they haven't, you know, given too much back. I can't remember which one the other one was. Okay, that's what we're looking for. Consolidation, and then another leg higher to take us to 827 next in Ethereum Classic Bitcoin. So if you're long, if you bought some down here, or, you know, then hold on, a bit further to go. Gabble Pat says the Binance 90-day period ends September 12th. And it coincides with your calculation that maybe will be the bigger Bitcoin turning point and a bigger crash. Yeah, that would be really good if we made a low, one more swing, a low then, you know, just that final push. So is everyone excited about leverage at Binance? I have to say, I am a little bit, but I'm a Binance customer, but with leverage, you know, you can get really punished if you don't know what you're doing. Well, not if you don't know what you're doing, but if you get a little bit too confident. So that's Ethereum Classic. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is ADA. ADA. I've got my tether chart here, but we will start with Bitcoin chart tonight, and we'll see what's going on in ADA Bitcoin. So first of all, it was quite disappointing in ADA because I felt like, you know, in any trend, and this is a 4-hour chart of ADA, for me, in any trend, if you really are going to go higher and it's not just a correction, you know, a very common place in a trend for the market to retrace to is 50%. It's not a fib level. It's just one of those levels where the market likes to go back to. And so here, for me, especially this first leg, and the fact that we reversed at this 50% here in ADA Bitcoin of this last swing lower, says that we haven't quite reversed the trend here on these higher time frames. We haven't reversed the trend on the 4-hour, and we haven't reversed the trend yet on the daily. And the most common thing to happen after you get reversed at a 50% like this is you pull back 50% the other way. So ADA, that means for ADA against Bitcoin here, we'd be looking for a 50% pullback before we go higher. So we've had one swing higher. What we could see here is something like this, and then that 50% level, which is clearly pretty good support and resistance here in ADA, is where I'd be looking to buy it back again. So that's about 458 in ADA Bitcoin. If we're going to make a bottom, that 50% place is where we're going to find support. And if we look at the same thing for ADA Tether, It's not quite the same because, obviously, but in terms of our 4-hour trend, we are not yet, we have not yet reversed the trend. We have not reversed the trend with the daily moving averages. We have not reversed the trend yet with these 4-hour moving averages. And we're underneath this 4-hour 200 moving average. And what I am a little bit concerned about is, again, this looks like this was to the pip an ABC equal measured move. So this swing and this swing are equal. So that still says that this rally is corrective for ADA and not a new uptrend. And when I look at ADA tether, unfortunately, we didn't quite hit the fib level where I was looking for support. And it's a little bit lower here at 0.04416. So see this little bear flag pattern in ADA? I am thinking that it's probably going to break lower. And 4416 is where the support is in ADA tether. And that's where I'm looking for next. It hasn't actually, I have to say, it hasn't been brilliant with other fib levels. So it might just ignore the fib level, but that's the best we've got. So that's what I'm going to look for. 4416 next. On the next swing lower for ADA Bitcoin. ADA Tether, sorry. And no new uptrend yet, unfortunately, for ADA against Bitcoin. So that's where we are with those. So Tomo was requested. This coin has now, if you go to your Binance chart where it's newly listed, you've got no data at all. This is a 5-minute chart. We've got 2 days. So you need to go to charts.cointrader.pro. Here we go. And here we've got our chart history for Tomo, which is all good. So a harmonic pattern trader or a zigzag trader would look at this chart and will immediately say, look, we've had our big drop. Here's our first big leg up. Here's our very, very steep pullback. And now we're looking for our next leg higher. For me, when I apply kind of harmonic pattern rules, the first thing I'm going to do, this is how I do it. I look and see where was this swing, where did this stop? And that makes a difference, okay? Because if this first swing goes as far as a 61.8, then potentially all we're looking for is a Gartley pattern, which would take us to the 786 fib area next. So I'm going to mark that. And whereas if it had stopped at this 50% or less, when I look at this swing, I'd be looking for at least 1.618 projection from this swing. So I'm going to hide this. So that's in my head, like little pattern rules I'm applying. And so here we only need to go like 1.272. So the market owes us another leg higher. I'm going to measure the swings as well. Like this, trend base, fib extension. So we're going to measure from here. Excuse my dog. Okay, so the 236 fib for me is always the trend level, the reversal. If we can get and hold above the 236 fib, we have reversed this downtrend. That's where we're stuck at here. So if we can, then for me, this first, I'm just going to take the other fib levels off because they don't count so much. If we get above this 236 fib level here, my first resistance is going to be the 200-day moving average. And then the next target, my first target is going to be here at 1,257,400 because that is where we are 61.8 of this first swing. So we can mark this. We'll say if we get above here, this is our resistance and this is our first target. Okay, and then if we continue our second target zone, it's a bit messy. It's going to be in this zone here, around where this 786 fib is. Maybe 113 of this. So I haven't got 113 on here. We'll take them away anyway. and in this box up here. So a marginal new high, maybe a big ABC, but if we continue higher from here, then let me put them on. New highs, and if we're going to be really bullish, and this is a really new uptrend, then we'll see 1.618 of this first swing, and we'll make new highs. But I'm going to go step by step. This is resistance. We're not going up unless we get above this level, which is here at can't quite see, 684,500. So, and then resistance, and then our target, and we'll go step by step from there. So here we go, are looking at this on the 4 hour. Now with big levels like this, you know, what you want to see is you don't want them to come back too far. You want them to consolidate underneath and then have another go at the level. And so what, you know, if we say to ourselves, well, an uptrend is higher highs and higher lows, here we go. We're in a downtrend when we take out this previous low, and we haven't yet. So we're just consolidating underneath it. So we haven't reversed the trend yet. We will only do that when we trade here underneath this low at 591,500. So far, so good. Just sideways consolidation. We're going to have another go and see if we can break above this. If we don't, if we get a double top, something like that, if we make a lower high and then we break this level, then clearly that's a top here, and we're going to need a bigger pullback to get us the energy to go higher. But that's what I'd be looking for in Tomo. So at resistance and at a big level. So okay, so there we are. Let's look at some requests. I think TNT, let me line up, zoom up here. TNT sideways for ages. Oh, so many sideways for ages, eh? Let's have a look at the chart, tea leaves, and see what's going on. And Ontology, I'll take a look at Ontology. Moeda, Ashby, well done. Oh, Moeda's doing the business today, isn't she? Yeah, that's a very good one. So let's see. So here's our TNT, Tyrion. This, believe it or not, is a daily chart. We're still stuck at this resistance. Now, look at this rally off the lows here. And see how it's, you always want to know, well, you know, you get excited when, first of all, I'm using Heikin-Ashi candles. So when they go green, you know, they're like a moving average in the candle color. So when they go green, you know you're going higher and you can get excited. But here, you know, we've done the choppy overlapping ABC. Again, this is an equal measured move. That's where our high is. And now we're rolling over. So I'm afraid it looks like we're going to come all the way down and retest these lows again in TNT. So doesn't look like it wants to break out of this range. It looks like we've got really good buyers down here, but we are set to retest the lows, I'm afraid, in TNT Bitcoin. This is not looking like a new upswing yet. Now, could be wrong. It's just that, you know, yeah, I don't think I am. You know, as you know, sometimes you'll start an ABC correction and it'll turn into a bigger one. So we go ABC like this, and we'll do a shallow pullback. We'll pull back to where our breakdown level is, which is here, to this trend line. And then the market will say, oh, actually, we're going to do a bigger one. So we do one more that's, you know, another ABC. And we go, so it's not just because we made that pattern, I wouldn't sell it yet. But at the moment, these are corrective patterns that don't say we're on our way to new highs yet. And so we need to wait for something better. Sorry. I can take a look at Link, yeah. Let's see, link. Now, link has been the source of much frustration for me, let me tell you. Let's tidy up this chart and take a look. Mainly because I'll put regular candles on, not high Kanashi on. Okay. We were really looking for this, a really nice pullback in link and the uptrend to continue, or at least, you know, a new upswing, if you like. So I got excited when we went beyond this 236 fib, but we failed at the previous high. So in terms of the basics of trend, we are not in a downtrend or an uptrend now. We're going sideways. Now, if we are going to make a base here, let's take this fib away because that's a bit of a confusion. So this is the high that we need to break to go higher. If we are going to make a base here, then a head and shoulders pattern or something like that would be a really good way to do that. So, and I really like them when they have symmetry in terms of time. So, you know, this is not a bad place for us to do an ABC, make a head and shoulders pattern. This is what I'd be looking for. We've got dead flat moving averages, so there isn't really any trend. And so when you're flat and going sideways, these are the kind of patterns that we're looking for if we're going to get excited or be bullish. So potentially we could rally from here and do that, but then we would be going higher only if we break these highs. So link Bitcoin at the moment. Now we need to look down at the tea leaves at these lows and say, are we making a bit of a base here? Well, maybe we are. And if we got above the hourly 20 moving average and held above it and made a bit of a base, then I would be excited. Haven't quite done it yet, but this is a really good level to watch for that kind of a reversal at. So that's all I'm saying. It's a really good level. Did we make a little bit of an ABC? I think we might have done, yeah, where we've got 61.8 of the first leg. So we could, you know, could see a reversal yet. We just don't have enough evidence. That's all in link Bitcoin. So I'm optimistic. Otherwise, I would say when I'm neutral on every time frame. These 4-hour moving averages are flat. The daily moving averages are flat. We're just, you know, sideways. Otherwise. Moeda, loyalty points. Let's find that one. Yeah, so Moeda. This is this is what we'd like to see. This is level here. Our target is the level where we will reverse the downtrend here on the 4-hourly chart in Moeda. So this is why it's our target. And when I looked at this, I thought, you know, this is a 1, 2, 3. And this fifth wave, this can't be the shortest. So this will be shorter. So we will probably hit some resistance here and see a bit of a pullback to test support. But the breakout from this wedge has worked really well. That I'm glad that one triggered so nicely. Good stuff. Moeda. So watch out for resistance at 77.41. Now, if we blast through it, then I'm dead wrong. I've counted it wrong, and we're in a big kind of wave 3 of 3 and happy days. Then our big target is 11,808. I'm just suggesting we might see a bit of a profit taking here. But 11,808 is the next target, and this is making a very nice base. What I like best about Moeda is, you know, when you see a market rally and then hold above the daily moving averages like this and consolidate, then the breakout is usually quite a good one. So we've got quite a good one in MDA. Next one we're going to look at is ITC. I don't know if I have a chart ready for that one. Let's see. Can't remember. Doesn't matter. We'll go and find one. Okay. ITC is IOP chain. Let's take a look. So so many of these altcoins, you know, they're really tempting us in, aren't they? We're at these really good levels. Everything looks like, you know, double bottom. Why shouldn't we rally from here? Happy days. And so this one is doing that, you know, and it's really tempting. But the first thing we've got to do is get above this 20 moving average, and then we've got to get above, and then we can start talking about a reversal and the daily 50 and these moving averages. So we could draw Heikinashi, but really I think the 20 moving average is the first thing. Yeah. So still in a downtrend till then. The good news is that this is not really a downtrend because our moving average is now flat. It's a sideways range. So big rally, ABC all the way back, retest the lows, maybe something like that. So it's no breakout. It's not a breakout unless we close above 193,300. But if we were going to do it, this is a really good level to do it at. Hi, Tonkovic. No, Bitcoin is right at the beginning. We spent quite a lot of time on it. And RSR, let's see. So watch for a retest of the lows that holds in ITC. This is unusual, this 886. Normally would have gone a little bit higher. I'm wondering if we're gonna, I wonder if bad news has sunk this one. It looks like it. Hey. Yeah, you know, this is one where our moving averages are flat. So we're in a sideways range as usual. I would have expected this to go one more push higher, a little bit higher to 3,100 here. So it may be that when we retest these lows, especially as we're really quite kind of oversold territory, we're at minus 218 down here on the CCI. And so potentially we could hold this support and we should do another, even if it's bearish, another leg of correction higher. And this 50% level really should be where we go back to. However, something's going on here. And if we lose this 886 fib level at 2,400, then we're obviously on for a full retest to the lows and it's time to get out of the way. So we need to kind of watch what's going to go on down here at these lows and see what happens. If you are already long of this one and you're hoping for a bounce to get yourself out of trouble, something like that, if we go underneath this level and we get rejected by it, that will be your sell signal. It will completely go lower from here. Otherwise, let's wait and see. We've only just got back to retest this level. Let's see how this looks tomorrow. We might find some support here, see if we can make a bit of a base. Even here, look on the hourly, dead flat moving averages. So this is not a downtrend. This is just the back to the bottom of the sideways range. And we'll see if the buyers are here again. So let's see. No worries. And ONT, I haven't looked at ONT for a while. Ontology. So now when I do the fib, so I put fibs on the corrections, so the most recent correction, so from this low to this high, and so the normal levels that you're looking for, 1272 or the 1.618 extension. And here we are at the 1272, and it looks like we are finding a bit of support, doesn't it? Our moving averages are starting to flatten out. But, you know, we've done this before. We went sideways. Our moving average flattened out very nicely here. And it ended up, you know, that we carried on and broke lower. So, you know, it's not a guarantee now that we'll do the same, but we are starting to do a bit of a sideways range again. So we could look lower time frame and see how we're doing. First off, for me, see, you want to see that the market is starting to look at the level, which it is starting to do now. And see how it was a resistance here. So if we were going to hold above it, it would have a really good look if we did this here and then held above it here. So that would be quite encouraging. So we're right where I would like to see it turn higher if we're going to hold this level, instead of just going back and forward in a horrible wedge or triangle or something that will break down, or a range trade. So that would say we've broken out of the range if we can find some support here and rally. So it needs to do it right here tonight. If it doesn't and we come back to the bottom of the range again, you know, it could go either way. So that would be a good look to buy it tonight in Ontology. We are at a fib level where we could potentially make a base from and rally. We just don't have quite enough evidence yet. The daily candles are starting to, you know, get a bit, you know, see how when we have this grind when we're downtrend, we go grind line, and then suddenly we get a bit spiky and we see some follow through. And so hopefully we can do this and see a bit of follow through here. Above this daily 50 would be very nice. And we could look back to these lows here, but for now, just not enough evidence. It's, you know, I think it might take a week to make a base, just like Bitcoin and everything else, unfortunately. So there we go. Okay, so there we go. We'll call this week just sideways, won't we? And I will. Okay, so next week is Labor Day, which is the US and a big, you know, holiday. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a Monday night next Monday. I will let you know. I'll try. Okay. All right, good luck. Thanks for coming. I really, really appreciate all of you. And next week, in fact, we will, the next time, and thank you for people who've been playing in the 5-minute club on Instagram. The very next session we'll be picking a winner, and you get lifetime membership of my strategy group. Okay, bye. Thanks, Ben Jax. Bye.